Welcome to The Next Level, where we speak with Durham entrepreneurs. The Next Level explores what's next in business, public affairs, technology, education, and big ideas, and speaks to leading minds from Durham region, Canada, and around the world on what it takes to be the next big thing. So what if the next game-changing billionaire in the world happens to be a comedian? Today, we meet a local comic, John Paul from Ajax, Ontario, who may just be leading the way on the next wave of a new industry combining comedy, technology, and business thinking. And we will be connecting him to super producer and business mogul, Mark Breslin, founder of the comedy club chain, Yuk Yuk's.
Hey, I'm John Paul, professional comedian, agent of mirth, part-time supermodel, and I live in Ajax. I'm actually a professional comedian. It's my full-time job. It's my 9 to 5. That is basically what I do. And basically all I'm trying to accomplish is I'm trying to save the world one joke at a time. We are going to have a fantastic time. My name is John Paul. I like to connect with people, and I think what comedy does is it connects people on so many different levels. I was lucky and blessed to realize that my calling and my purpose in life at about 12, 13 years old was comedy. Eventually went to Yuk Yuk's at 19 on the suggestion of some teachers at my high school. And they're like, hey, you should try Yuk Yuk's. I think you'd be great. And then I did amateur night, and I was encouraged to continue. And that basically began the journey of to how I got here. Where do I get my material from? Fabricland. I'm just kidding. Here's what I do know. At the end of the day, everybody likes to laugh, some more than others. And people usually want to be around someone who makes them laugh. And what I love about having a sense of humor is it's sometimes made me the best looking guy in the room. Speaking with Mark from Yuk Yuk's will be absolutely fantastic because Mark and I have gone from just having a business relationship to actual having a friendship. This is going to be an absolutely great conversation to have because I like talking to my friend.
John Paul, welcome to The Next Level.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, it's great to have you here and great to meet you. And I'm excited to talk to you today because I think this area is not something that people think of as a traditional business or industry, but this is what I want to talk to you about.
Comedy? Today. I think it is now. It wasn't when I thought about it or decided I was going to. Correct. It's usually something that gets you excommunicated from your family. So I think comedians are the original disruptors. We disrupt what's going on in society because we're the ones who through our lens comment and show you yourself sometimes.
There's a lot of people who suggest that the modern truth tellers are the comics and comedians, where that was once something that, say, rock stars would have been the truth tellers during the disruption of the 60s and the 70s. Tell me about the state of comedy in 2022, from your perspective.
What we're fighting against is feeling like you have to tone down or ultimately censor what your message is.
I'm originally from an island called Trinidad and Tobago. That is where I'm originally from. Grew up here in Toronto. That's basically why I sound like this. I don't have an accent. I'm a Trinidadian raised in captivity. That is what I am. I've been known to eat. Yeah, I am. It's true. I've been known to eat roti with a knife and fork, which is punishable by death in certain parts of my homeland. So
what people are losing is the ability of context and intention. And I think what's causing that is social media, because social media is slowly dulling down your ability to see beyond a screen and connect with somebody.
So you're obviously a philosopher, because that's a really good way, very insightful view. Do you also see yourself as an artist or as an entrepreneur?
Both, but predominantly, like if the majority percentage of that would be artist. They're supposed to coexist. The term is called show business.
Tell me a little bit about John Paul, the entrepreneur. What's that like in the world of comedy? What does that mean?
Basically, I'm selling myself. legally. Right off the bat, I branched off into merch. Hipster which is part of my brand. Island Hipster which is what I consider myself. And the whole Island Hipster ethos is spread love, have fun, and practice happy.
Have you had to reinvent the way you do business during this last couple of years? Maybe you can tell me a bit about that.
Ultimately what happened, which is what happened to the world, is everybody went virtual. So we were having weekly conversations with friends. They're like, hey, what are you gonna do? And they were all excited. You gonna do live comedy shows? And I was like, F that, I'm not doing it. That's not how comedy works. But again, this was a week into the pandemic. A friend of mine was like, nah man, it's adapt or get left behind. And in the moment, it planted the seed and I thought about it. And then the more I thought about it, I realized I'm actually gonna have to try to figure this out. Still not great or ideal, but I'm thankful for it, for having the outlet. And that's how I began to monetize what I did, so I could put together shows, which I did. And I did a ton of corporate shows, all because their employees needed an outlet other than, hey, let's just sit on a screen and stare at each other, even though we see each other 8 hours a day, you know? So they wanted something else to break that up. And they're like, would you be interested? Yes, you know? And as long as they were paying, I was telling jokes. It had me tap into a level that I knew was there, but I never had to try to attempt to tap into because everything was kosher before COVID.
When Bob Dylan first went electric, people weren't very happy with that either, but look at what happened as a result. So you don't know. What do you think it would take to make a place like Durham Region a leader in the next generation of comedy, entertainment, media?
I think they're already on their way. I think Durham is already on that way, and I hope I can be part of that since I live in Durham and have been for almost 2 decades now.
So do you think that the next big giant of comedy, whether it's Ryan Reynolds or Lorne Michaels or anyone like that, could come from Durham Region?
I do, because I don't think you necessarily need to just be in the mix of things in order to be the next big thing. I think all you need is a unique perspective and something people haven't seen before.
So, Jean Paul, as this show is called The Next Level, we are going to connect you with probably Canada's most successful business entrepreneur in comedy, the founder and owner of the Yuck Yucks comedy chain, Mark Breslin.
Mark is my good friend. I look forward to that conversation.
Oh, good. Let's see where we can take this, and follow me. Mark Breslin, welcome to The Next Level. And we're speaking to you from downtown Oshawa. We're just steps away from the Yuck Yucks location in Oshawa. And so we're thrilled to have you on the show to join us with Jean Paul.
Great. Well, it's great to be here.
My first question to you is, what is the secret to a vibrant career in comedy? Is there a secret?
Well, if I knew the secret, I'm not sure I would share it. You know, comedy's funny. Every time you come up with a rule, somebody comes along and breaks that rule and shows how that there really aren't any rules. I'll give you just a couple of examples. Everybody says that the most important thing for a comic to be is well-liked. You have to have a massive likability. But I can think of some examples of comics who aren't particularly likable that are successful, like Bill Maher. Bill Maher doesn't seem like a guy you would want to sit around and have a beer with. Another rule, comics should always play to the back of the house. Comics should be broad and big on stage. And then you have somebody like Stephen Wright completely disproving that idea. So every time I think I know the rule, I've come up with a general theory of comedy, the way that Einstein was trying to come up with a general theory of matter and space, I realized that there is no rule.
Okay, how would you describe the comedy scene in 2022?
Comedy is in an extremely good place right now because there's just so many comics, so many places to perform, so many platforms to perform on. I mean, look, it's unlikely I would ever become a TikTok star, but somebody who's 19 might. But that 19-year-old might do very poorly in clubs because they don't have the attention span to create an actual act. Now, the bad part about that is that because there are so many platforms, it's very hard to achieve any kind of mega stardom in the way that, say, Jerry Seinfeld did, because you just have so many different ways of reaching people that, you know, you don't have the massiveness of a network television way of becoming famous. The process of people becoming super famous for a long, long time is very, very difficult and very rare. It's the same thing that's happened in the music business. Outside of a handful of people who have had long-term careers in the last 20 years, a lot of people sort of peak and die. I didn't realize that I would become a comic or in the comedy business till I was well into it. I started off as an MC at Harborfront, and I started adding a line here, a line there, and then people would say, hey, you know, you have like a half an hour's worth of material. And that's when I started to think about opening up an actual comedy club.
I know that your initial intention wasn't to be a comedian. Were you doing comedy to facilitate being able to do the shows? And do you remember at what point you went from you facilitating doing that role to then going, you know what, I am a comedian. I want to be a comedian. When do you think that the switch happened?
I don't know, but I resisted the idea for the longest time. What I wanted to do was have revenge against all the girls who wouldn't date me. That's all I remember. And they'd all be in the front row. So I would be able to do all the kinds of lines I always wanted to do to their faces individually, but never had the nerve. But somehow when I was on stage, it was okay to do it.
Do you think going forward, comedy clubs are going to have like hybrid rooms, like standard rooms where people come in, sit down, watch a live show, rooms where some people sit down and then there's like screens, you know, so that people can intermingle, like you said, the metaverse with live people, with what's happening on stage? Do you think comedy clubs are going to adapt to that level?
Comedy clubs haven't changed one bit since they started in the mid-70s. So we're looking at ways of trying to do some experimental work in the actual physicality of the rooms. Okay, you know how you can go see these shows in Vegas, which are like legends of show business, and you have Bob Dylan, and you have a Bob Dylan impersonator doing Bob Dylan stuff, because all you have to do to get that material is license it from the publisher and ASCAP or whoever the publishing company or the rights organization is. So they do that, and they have a whole show of, you know, it's Janis Joplin followed by Bob Dylan. And then the newer version of that are holograms. And I'm wondering how long it will take before somebody, and it will be a pricey proposition, that somebody says, you know, okay, Richard Pryor live on the Vegas Strip, or not live on the Vegas Strip, and they'll create a hologram of Richard Pryor doing his material for an hour.
What are you most looking forward to once clubs and everything open back out?
What really excites me is watching the customers walk in with a little veneer of misery on their face and walk out much, much, much happier, just because they sat through 90 minutes of really good comedy.
Okay, Mark, as this show is called The Next Level, and the premise of the show is to take young entrepreneurs to the next level, how do you recommend we do that with Jean Paul?
Well, first of all, Paul, you could pay the guy for doing what he's doing today. That's a real good way of getting to the next level, because the next level always has to involve money. To take JP to the next level, well, you know, JP has a wonderful work ethic, which really helps. A lot of people who have been doing it as long as he have stopped writing and are coasting on old material. He doesn't do that. There are only two people that I would ever describe as hip in the comedy business in Toronto that I've encountered. John Paul is one of them.
Thank you, Mark.
Have a great day.
You too, bro.
Jean Paul, a great day, and really happy to have you be a part of the next level. So thanks so much.
It was actually my pleasure and my honor to be part of this and to meet you and be part of the project.
Well, that's good to hear, because there is one more thing. Mark and I are working on producing a national television special for diabetes and the 100th anniversary of insulin. I would like to offer you a spot on that national television show if you're interested.
You had me at hello.
Okay,
And
good.
now goodbye.
Well, that's great. Well, listen, it's great to meet you, and I look forward to working with you on this.
Absolute pleasure, man. Thank you. Have a great day, all that good stuff, and yeah, man, don't be a stranger.
Comedic exit. Charlie Chaplin once said, "Life is seen as a tragedy in the close-up, but a comedy in the long run." See you next time on The Next Level.